Welcome back to the Warehouse Podcast. My name is Jesse. This is a really exciting time for baseball fans because the World Baseball Classic is about to start. And I'm going to sort of talk a little bit here about the Orioles and the Orioles organization's players' involvement in the World Baseball Classic, which we do have a few representatives that are going to be headed to the World Baseball Classic. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. It is just, thinking just more broadly than baseball. It is a really exciting time. Let me just clarify. If you're thinking strictly about sports, it is a very exciting time. Of course, for baseball fans, because there is the spring training happening. There's the World Baseball Classic, and soon the majors are going to enter into the regular season. But just more broadly, we had the Winter Olympics just wrapping up within the last couple weeks or so. And the World Cup is happening this summer, which fortunately for people living in the United States, is going to at least partially be held in the United States. The World Baseball Classic is being held in the United States as well as some other countries. And then the World Cup is going to be also held mostly in the US, but also Mexico, Canada, etc. From a even just a global sports perspective, 2026 has a lot going on. And the World Baseball Classic is sort of gaining in prominence throughout the world. And of course, it is doing a lot for Major League Baseball, growing the game, expanding the game, etc. throughout the world. Last year, I think everybody remembers, was a really, really exciting World Baseball Classic. And there was, of course, more than just sort of the final moment in the final between the US and Japan. But Shohei Ohtani going pitching against Mike Trout, the U.S. and Japan, and Shohei Ohtani striking out Mike Trout um, in a great at bat, just in general, and a great sort of like battle between the both of them. So it was close. I think it was a one-run game that Japan had won. And yeah, Japan took the title last time. They are very much again contenders this year. There is some there, I think that the World Baseball Classic, of course, you compare it to something like soccer, and maybe the disparity or the lack of parity is a better way to say it, is equally as prevalent. Maybe my initial thinking on this is, there's more parity in soccer than baseball, or in the World Cup than the World Baseball Classic. But I mean, you think about a country like Haiti, or yeah, Haiti going to the World Cup this year for the first time, relative to Brazil. And I guess I'm just thinking about that in the context of the World Baseball Classic, and we think about maybe the Brazilian baseball team being matched up against the United States. I think that's the U.S.'s first game, and Brazil's first game. And thinking about, sort of in the opposite direction, the sort of lack of, the U.S. obviously in baseball has a big advantage over Brazil. I think that, when you're looking at the World Baseball Classic, we're really talking about probably five, maybe six contenders. Of course, the US, Japan, are definitely contenders. Puerto Rico, I think you can put in that as well. Even though Puerto Rico has been hit really badly, with a lot of the insurance issues, that is going to prevent Lindor and others from competing. But I think also you could kind of look at Venezuela, I think, is, among one of the favorites. And then, of course, the Dominican Republic as well, who is just stacked, really entering this World Baseball Classic. Um, so I think, when you're thinking about, who has legitimate chances to win the tournament, that's sort of who you're looking at. I think maybe, although I would have to do a little more into this, but potentially Mexico has kind of an outside chance of it. But yeah, I think, realistically, we're really looking at those four sort of teams going into the tournament. Um, yeah, and I think probably Puerto Rico probably still has a chance, but definitely are going to be taking a big hit because of the ineligibility of some of their talent. So yeah, of course there's been a lot that has been talked about the World Baseball Classic. I kind of just wanted to go through it from and sort of preview it a little bit from an Orioles perspective. So last World Baseball Classic, the Orioles did have some representatives throughout it. Historically, the Orioles have had some significant contributions to the World Baseball Classic. We could think about Manny Machado. We could think about Adam Jones, for instance, sort of dating ourselves. I think that if my memory is serving me right, I think the Orioles weren't as well represented in the last World Baseball Classic. Although Cedric Mullins did play for the U.S., he was a backup in general. But he did get some playing time, and I think he was, yeah, backing up for Mike Trout, which didn't get a lot of time, I don't think, out there. But he did make the team. So I think he was among kind of the most prominent players we sent, unless I'm really overlooking somebody. And I'm when I say we sent, I'm referring to the world as sent to who. I'm not sort of limiting that to the United States team. But I think Mullins was among the best players that we had sent. Um, and just kind of looking through who the Orioles have going to the World Baseball Classic, I'll just run down the list really quickly, and then kind of go through it a little bit. So in Pool A, the Orioles are sending Enrique Bradfield to Panama. Also in Pool A, they're sending Tyler O'Neill and Micah Ashman to Canada. Now, keeping in mind as I'm going through this, I'm talking about all the players in the Orioles organization, not just on the major league team. Puerto Rico, the Orioles are sending Jose Espada, Rico Garcia, and Luis Vasquez. Great Britain in Pool B, the Orioles are sending Ryan Long. Also in Pool B, Gunnar Henderson is going to play for the U.S. And in Pool D, Dean Kramer is going to play for Israel. So that is sort of the alignment of, where, the Oriole players are going. And of course, out of that list, there is one standout player, kind of the team leader or, one of the, more or less routine, most valuable Oriole, which is Gunnar Henderson, who's going to be playing for the U.S. Unfortunately, for him, he's going to be playing more third base and second base. So he's going to be a little out of position from an Oriole fan perspective. But that is, of course, because Bobby Witt Jr. Is going to be playing shortstop. So Gunnar Henderson is just going to sort of have to make his way over at third, over at second. And then, yeah, and, probably, there is some expectation that he'll probably produce offensively. But yeah, he's not going to have the same defensive contribution from the shortstop position, at least most of the time, that we're expecting. Maybe if the U.S. is through and they sit Bobby Witt maybe Gunner will take over at short, or, if they're up 8-0, maybe you could see a situation where Witt takes a seat, and then Henderson slides over to play short. So, but primarily he's not going to be playing short for the US. So he's really the standout. He kind of like is kind of head and shoulders above the other players for this team. Dean Kramer is the other, solid, notable major league player that the Orioles are sending, going to play for Team Israel. Fortunately, we did get a chance to go watch him in the last World Baseball Classic pitch a bit. So that was fun. I'm trying to remember. I think we actually did see him pitch a couple games, but so yeah, he is going to, for the Orioles, he's kind of a five starter, and he's going to be much higher in Team Israel's rotation, just because they don't have the same caliber of starting pitchers that the Major League Baltimore Orioles do. Um, Sort of going down, we do have Rico Garcia, Luis Vasquez, who, did play on the majors, Rico Garcia, who's stashed away in the bullpen, or not stashed away in the bullpen. He is in our bullpen. And Tyler O'Neill, who, we all know had a disappointing 2025 season, but he's going to go play for Canada. And then someone I'm, really excited to watch at this World Baseball Classic. It'll be interesting to see how much success Panama has. But I am actually really looking forward to Enrique Bradfield in the World Baseball Classic. This is going to be kind of, we've gotten glimpses of seeing him in spring training. Maybe if people go to minor league games for the Orioles, they've seen him play a bit. But this is a guy who is, probably not too far away from the major leagues. And it'll be really interesting, kind of the World Baseball Classic, especially, kind of with how it's structured. There are a lot of teams that don't have, don't necessarily field, their roster or complete their roster with major league players, um, due to, that country not necessarily being that well represented in the major leagues. So Enrique Bradfield, being a minor leaguer, among the other minor leaguers on this list, is going to be really exciting, I think, to go see him play for Team Panama. Not sure exactly how much playing time he'll get, but I think he'll get a good chunk of it. And yeah, it'll be, hopefully, he's going to kind of be a little more. This is going to show us a little bit more about who he is as a player. Um, I think there's going to be a certain level of pressure for Enrique Bradfield, that he probably hasn't experienced. Definitely, when he goes to spring training games, I don't think it's going to be that level of pressure that he's going to be feeling, when he's playing for Panama. But that is also someone that I'm really looking forward to from the Orioles team, that is going to, yeah, be playing in the World Baseball Classic. Um, and yeah, so I think that'll be really exciting. Hopefully, Panama, will have some competitive games or be in some competitive games, where, maybe he comes up in a big situation or makes a big defensive play, something like that. So we'll definitely see. But I think it's, of course, as it is with all these guys, I think it's a big opportunity for him, like it is for everybody else, and really looking forward to being able to watch him play, and see what he does with, his time with Panama. So, I think, there's been kind of a lot of discussion about this. How does this kind of impact things for the Orioles perspective? I mean, I think definitely, when we're thinking about this question, I do think it is important to kind of keep in mind there are kind of bigger things than, the kind of immediate, okay, well, they're trying to get ready for spring training. The timing of the event, um, it's kind of difficult. I don't know where else you would put it if you don't do it during spring training. You're probably not going to do it in the middle of the season, of course not. Um, and at the end of the season probably is not making much sense either. But granted, in other situations like the World Cup, club schedules, etc., are sort of more geared around the World Cup. But I think that like soccer fans, for instance, understand, even if you are a fan of a club team, um, if you're a fan of Real Madrid, when you're watching the World Cup and Mbappe goes to play for France, I don't think that they are the Real Madrid fans are necessarily um scared the entire time that Mbappe is playing for France. Is he going to get injured? Is he going to, et cetera, et cetera? They sort of understand that this is the biggest event in the world, right? And they kind of like view it from that perspective. So I do think that, right now, the World Baseball Classic is not really, and I'm not saying elevated itself to the status, quote unquote, of the World Cup. But even among baseball fans, it doesn't sort of have that level of prominence yet where people have sort of overlooked the implications that it has for the Major League Baseball teams. I think that, if you kind of looked at baseball fans in the United States and you say, hey, would you rather, your country or the country that you are pulling for in the World Baseball Classic, would you rather that team win, or would you rather win the World Baseball Classic, or would you rather have, your favorite MLB team win? I think that most people, most fans would end up saying their favorite MLB team win. And I think that really speaks to kind of where this tournament is at in the minds of baseball fans. And I think that it does have, in some ways, a lot of work to do. I think it's not helped by the fact that it does coincide with spring training, and this is sort of how um, this is kind of the tournament that is being used to gear up to the major league regular season. So I think that is like, also kind of a disadvantage because, people know while they're watching this tournament that the players aren't necessarily in mid-season form at this time. So, it's not like the World Cup where sort of all the players are gearing, sort of their conditioning and their strength to being ready for this tournament, right? And kind of sidelining everything else. In this situation, it's kind of the reverse. Like, players are using this opportunity to get ready for the major league season, and not even to say that they feel the major league season is more important, although many of them probably do, but just due to the timing of it, that's kind of how it works. It's not like the World Baseball Classic is held in June and there's a 2 month pause or a month pause. Yeah, month pause because the season doesn't last that long. I'm sorry, the World Baseball Classic doesn't last more than a month. So it's not like there's this massive pause in the middle of the major league season, and starting pitchers are being pulled the month before so that they can prepare and get ready. Nothing like that is happening. This tournament is being used to prep for the regular major league season. So yeah, all that to say, of course, just like there is in spring training, there is some risk involved. I think the big time that this has shown up was with the Edwin Diaz injury where it really, really hurt the Mets when he was pitching for them. He had an extended injury. I think he was out for the entire season. And it wasn't even during the game to make things worse. It was like during a celebration, I think. Um, yeah, so of course we want everyone to stay healthy. But I also don't think that, I think that baseball fans, um, and Oriole fans should sort of approach this as like, yes, it is a risk, and hopefully, everybody ends the tournament being healthy and ready to go for the major league season. But if that doesn't happen, there is sort of this greater purpose, this broader sort of international competition that in some ways should take you know, I guess ideally should, take some sort of precedence, and some, even potentially higher level of importance over this competition that is relegated, and I'm talking about Major League Baseball, that is relegated just to the United States. Of course, Major League Baseball does have international viewers, and of course, Japan is a big viewer, especially with Shohei, of Major League Baseball, etc. But yeah, I think all of that is something just to kind of keep in mind. Regardless, these players are going to go. And I think that I think for one, it's hard to, really identify hopes and expectations for each of the players. Um, I think that, of course, with Gunnar Henderson, probably you want him to have an incredible tournament, right? Um, if you are pulling for the U.S., not just for that reason, but because he's really the guy that you know if you're going to take your chances on somebody making a significant difference in a game or in the tournament, I think it's probably pretty safe to put your guess on Gunnar Henderson. He's probably going to get the bulk of the playing time. He's going to be on the field more frequently than these other players for the most part. And, kind of like I said before, he'll probably be in competitive games and competitive high stakes games against other teams. So I think, that is definitely something to kind of keep in mind. Um, I think like for instance, if you look at someone like Dean Kramer, he's going to be one of the better pitchers for Israel, and they're definitely going to be relying on him if they hope to have success in the tournament. Um, so he is going to be just a pitcher, and I don't mean to say just a pitcher, but I think part of where that is coming from is because he is not going to, basically because this is kind of functioning as spring training. The World Baseball Classic enforces strict pitch counts, and pitch limits for major league players. So, most of the time these pitchers will, if you're a starter, will throw 50, 60 pitches. That's going to be it. And then you got to wait another few days before you are able to pitch again. So, Dean Kramer, the hope in his situation would be, hey, we're going to get three good, solid innings out of him to start the game. And, then it's just going to kind of be like, up to the rest of the bullpen, and to the offense to kind of carry the rest of the work. If he gives you three shutout innings, like that's great. But that's not the sort of clutchness that I'm really talking about. That's not sort of the down to the wire kind of like, he's not getting the strike. He's not doing what Shohei did with the bases. Well, not with the Yeah, he's not striking out Mike Trout in the last inning to end the game, or anything like that. So it's not going to be the same level of significance. Like if he doesn't get rocked, and he puts 3 or 4 innings together, that's going to be great. And like from an Oriole fan perspective, like we can be excited about that. Um, so yeah, I think, that is something to kind of keep in mind. He's just not going to be really in the position to be the kind of like difference maker that's going to be on the highlight reels type situation, You'll see him pitch a few good innings. Hopefully he'll get some Ks. He's not the guy that is likeliest to have an immaculate inning or to throw 3 or 4 perfect innings. So he's probably not going to stand out in that way. Um, so I think, like if things go well for him, probably it's going to be a bit quieter for him, and just kind of like he's going to have a more subtle contribution, than somebody probably like Gunnar Henderson or even someone like Enrique Bradfield or Tyler O'Neill. Tyler O'Neill is in the sort of unfortunate position of playing for Team Canada, which is it will field a team, but they're not going to be one of the top contenders in this tournament. Enrique Bradfield, I already covered a bit. And then, we can look at Puerto Rico, Rico Garcia. And I do want to, I feel like every time we talk about Puerto Rico, it does need to be said, although it is a team in this World Baseball Classic, it is not another country. It is a part of the United States. Um, whether it should be or not is a different question entirely. But just a quick reminder, it is not a country as of now. But Enrique Bradfield, uh, I'm sorry, Rico Garcia and Luis Vasquez are both going to be playing for Puerto Rico. Luis Vasquez, both of them, have the potential to have an impact. Puerto Rico, kind of like I said, despite its challenges, will be one of the better teams. It could be in some competitive games. Rico Garcia could see some important innings for that team. And yeah, same with Luis Vasquez. He could get some time playing. And I think there is, especially with the possibility that they will have some competitive games and maybe make it out into the later rounds. Definitely possible for them to make some significant contributions. So yeah, I mean, so in terms of kind of what I was alluding to before, when we come into spring training, we kind of have certain hopes, certain ambitions, certain maybe expectations for particular players. If they're really young, maybe we'll say, oh, we don't want them to, we don't need them to be like consistently good or whatever, but we want to see some flashes of their abilities, etc. And I don't think it's really fair or possible to kind of do that in the same way with the World Baseball Classic, because of the differences, the unique contexts of each of the players on each of the individual teams, that are going to be playing in different games with varying levels of pressure, etc. So, yeah, I don't think it's really possible to kind of create some sort of individualized, even standards or expectations for what we hope. A lot of it is also dependent on how they are utilized in the World Baseball Classic, which is going to be up to the decision making of their respective managers, etc. So and coaching staffs. So yeah, just kind of want to keep all of that in mind. We don't have a lot of the Orioles, some of the, the more star, or the closer to elite players on the Orioles are not participating. in the World Baseball Classic. We could just think through some of the examples. Jackson Holiday, of course, Gunnar Henderson, of course. Sorry, not Gunnar Henderson, Jordan Westberg. Neither of them are going to be competing. Are great catchers behind the plate, Sam Basayo and Adley Rutschman. Neither of them are going to be in the competition either. Um, our new addition, Pete Alonso, also not playing as well. So yeah, there is kind of a lot of players on this team, and kind of the upper echelons of this team, that are not going to be participating in the World Baseball Classic, which is going to make it a little, uh, yeah, the Orioles are not, at least with the upper ranks of our team, are not that well represented in the World Baseball Classic, which is fine, but it's going to make it maybe a little less enjoyable from the perspective of an Oriole fan. Yeah, and we just think about the pitching. Some of the better pitchers on our team, Shane Baz, Bradish, and Trevor Rogers. Not, none of them are competing either. The bulk of, the Oriole stars are going to be not participating, and we will be able to watch them participate in spring training, which of course is not the same thing. But yeah, so that's kind of where things are at with the Orioles. With all that said, I do want to say I am really, really excited about this World Baseball Classic. Despite everything I just said about the Orioles representation there, I am, yeah, I am really excited just, for this event to become bigger within Major League Baseball and within the world. I uh you know, of course I love baseball. So on one hand, I am glad that there is an opportunity for these other countries to enjoy it, at least for a short period of time, to some extent. Similar to how, there are Winter Olympic sports that I watch for a couple weeks and then not again for 4 years. This that might be the situation for fans of baseball in other countries. Many of these countries participating in this competition are not known for baseball, and have, in some situations, Brazil being a good example, has other sports in that country or in those countries that take significant precedence over baseball. So yeah, this is kind of now not for all of them, of course, Dominican Republic, baseball is a big sport, right? Japan, baseball is a big sport, etc. But for some of them, baseball is not going to be the favorite sport of the country. It might not even be a very big sport there at all. So um, that is, I am excited that there is going to be kind of this national, even though unfortunately it is very sort of US centered. Most of the games are held in the US, as it was previously. And it kind of is kind of like I said, it has this MLB tilt to it. Just because for one, MLB does a lot to make this actually happen. But two, just because a lot of the players are playing in the major leagues, and the majors is the best, or has the most talent worldwide in terms of Major League Baseball is the most talented baseball league in the world, right? So yeah, that's all I'm trying to say with that, really. But yeah, so in any case, but yeah, I am really, really excited. I'm glad that the World Baseball Classic was implemented. Um, I'll be really excited to watch it. And um, I think there is, especially as we get into the later rounds, so much energy, so much enthusiasm. that is channeled through this World Baseball Classic. And I just cannot wait for it. I think it'll be really exciting. I think there, kind of as I mentioned before, I think there are a few teams that have a good chance to win it, which I am happy about that there isn't one team that is just clearly going to run away with it. At least there is some parity at the very top of the competition. Um, maybe not as much as I'm kind of letting on here, but yeah. But in any case, yeah, really, really looking forward to this event. Can't wait for it. Yeah, I mean, we'll probably talk about it if there is Oriole news that comes out of it. Of course, we'll keep talking about spring training. But yeah, can't wait for this event. So excited. Hope everybody that's out there gets at least some chance to watch, especially if you love baseball. I think that the last time I watched it, and the last few times it's been on, just a really, really exciting event. So, yeah, really can't wait for it. So, in any case, thank you all so much for listening. If you can, please follow the show, give us a 5-star rating and review, subscribe to us on YouTube. We do have a YouTube channel. Comment on our video with any thoughts that you might have. Feel free to get in touch with the show. You can email us, thewarehousepod@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram and Blue Sky at the Warehouse Pod. Thank you all so much for listening. I hope you all are excited for the World Baseball Classic. My name is Jesse. This has been the Warehouse Podcast, and go O's.